Naseer sir, welcome to Expresso. I'm both delighted and overwhelmed because undoubtedly you're one of the greats of Indian cinema and theatre with movies which are international, mainstream, indie.
Thank you. I'm trying to look very modest and humble.
No, you needn't.
Okay.
Not at all. So welcome once again.
Thank you.
So normally, how do you like to think of yourself, like as a star or as an actor?
This was a question that I grappled with when I was very young and decided that I wanted to act for a living. I had two older brothers, both of whom had decided by the time they were in class 8 or 9 what they wanted to do. One wanted to join the army, the other wanted to be an engineer. There weren't too many options then, you know.
Right.
I wanted to be an actor, and at least an actor is a known entity, and it was frowned upon. And my dad wouldn't hear of it, of course. I didn't have the courage to confess it to him, but I had decided. By the time I was 14 and the first time I went on stage, which stimulated me so greatly that I was convinced I didn't want to do anything else ever in my life. Dad kept saying, come on, study hard, become a doctor, become this, become that, try to join the NDA, and I knew I didn't want to do any of these things. I really wanted to express myself because I was an introverted child. I had very few friends. I didn't get on well with my parents. I was always doing the wrong things, according to them. So I'd say, yeah, I wanted to be an actor, but at the same time, you know, the temptation of, because I realized the kind of lives actors lived, and then one would see photographs of these, you know, guys partying and driving around in limousines and so on. And so that's, I felt, well, yeah, having all that wouldn't hurt either. But I always knew that I'm not the matinee idol type of guy, because I had seen movies of, Hollywood movies, several when I was a child. Right. I'd seen people like Gary Cooper and, you know, Errol Flynn and John Wayne and Stuart Granger and all these people. And I'd seen Shammi, Kapoor and Dilip Kumar, and so I knew I wasn't that kind of a guy. What really stimulated me, and it's something I've written about in detail in my book, is when I saw Spencer Tracy for the first time. I hadn't seen an actor like that ever. Till then, and I'd been seeing movies since the age of 3 or 4.
Right.
You know, my dad, though he was not a liberal-minded person and never saw movies himself, allowed us to see movies for some reason. And we saw a whole lot of them as kids. The actors in them didn't look like real people to me. Until I saw Spencer Tracy in a film called The Old Man and the Sea.
That's right.
And he looked like my grandpa, you know, would look on a fishing boat. He looked like he belonged on this boat. He looked like he'd been on it all his life. And I felt, wow, if, you know, this is the kind of actor I could be. And that really fired my ambitions. And being famous and being acclaimed seemed to me to be synonymous with being an actor.
Right.
You know, I didn't understand the distinction between being an actor and a film star until I saw Spencer Tracy,
Right.
who was both. And so I resolved to try and be both, if I could.
So, but you were quite the film buff, like again, from what I read in your book, which has been very helpful. In terms of, you would cut classes and
Yeah.
sort of watch movies in theatres,
Yeah.
and across the various cities that you studied in. So I'm just going to take a few names of theatres, and you can tell me which movies you watched and what memories you have of them. Capital.
Capital. We saw a movie every week in school, and the Irish Christian brothers who ran the school were obviously movie lovers. So every time there was a special movie,
Right.
which could not be screened in the school, a 35 millimeter, was Bridge on the River Kwai, Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments, Spartacus. These are 4 movies I saw in Capital. Nainital. I believe it still exists and it's still around, and they've modernized it somewhat. And it was gorgeous. It had this Art Deco entrance, you know. And as you entered, you saw framed photographs of all Hollywood stars and no Indian.
Okay, all Hollywood stars.
All Hollywood stars. Ashoka in Nainital had Hindi movies. So I saw Bahut Din Hue over there. Lakshmi Talkies in Nainital too, where I saw films like The Golden Blade and The Wizard of Oz, Peter Pan. Come on, name some others.
Prabhat.
Prabhat. That was in Ajmer, it was close to my house. And it used to have a Sunday morning English movie for which Dad would give us permission.
Okay.
By the time we got to Ajmer, he had become slightly sticky about it. But the English movie he always allowed us to go to. If it was a war movie, he would come along. But I remember seeing The Hunchback of Notre Dame with Anthony Quinn, which made me fall in love with Anthony Quinn. And I said, wow, what an ugly guy. And he can be an actor, you know. Then I have no problem.
So you, from what I remember reading in your book, that at the age of 16 or thereabouts, you ran away and you came to Mumbai.
Yeah.
And you got a taste of what the film industry was about.
Yes, I appeared in my first film. And you can Google it and see it, and I'm there. It's a film called Aman, made by Mr. Mohan Kumar, starring Rajinder Kumar, and Saira Banu, and Balraj Sahni, and Chetan Anand Sahab also was acting. He had a hell of a star cast, and Lord Bertrand Russell. I'm not joking. Yeah, Lord Bertrand Russell and me. It was our first film together. But I never had any scene with him. But I'm there. Then I did an extra job in another movie called Sapno Ka Saudagar.
Right.
Hema Malini's first film. It was a foolhardy decision at the age of 16 to try my luck in Bombay. But I knew that there wasn't anything else I wanted to do. And so I ran away and came here. And luckily I had a friend who supported me for a while. And then they got fed up and then I had to go home. But I'm glad I had that experience.
What did it teach you about life in the film industry? Because usually people look at it from outside and they think you're just going to walk in and you're going to get your break, get discovered.
It taught me that it's going to be very hard to achieve, because I used to hang around a lot on Linking Road, Pamposh, which has now turned into half a dozen shops. It was this huge Irani restaurant in those days. I'm talking of 1966, and we used to hang around there and we saw several stars whizzing past in their limousines. And we'd catch some of the the not so successful actors like Dev Kumar or Sujit Kumar or guys like Dev Mukherjee, chaps who'd acted in one or two movies,
right,
and who got somewhat famous, sort of hanging around hoping to be spotted, I guess. And I was this 16-year-old just looking at this world and thinking maybe I made a very big mistake, but I know I want to be here. I never felt insecure alone in Mumbai. I never felt scared. The city never awed me.
Right.
I took to it like a duck to water. But what it taught me was that it's going to be a long haul. So I better be well prepared. And I'm too young to play a grown-up, and I'm too old to play a child.
You were a big fan of Shammi Kapoor Sahab and Dara Singh.
Yeah.
So when you
Wow.
you still are.
Yeah.
And so did you sort of take their autograph while you were in Mumbai, or any other actor that you really admired?
Autograph. I have taken one autograph in my whole life, and that is of Mr. Jeffrey Kendall, who was my great influence as far as my theatre work is concerned,
Right.
and the man who inspired me to become an actor. Shammi Kapoor and Dara Singh, I loved their movies, and I saw every single one of them. I finally met up with both of them. And Daraji, I went and told him that I love your films and I've seen every. And he said, he was very embarrassed, but I reeled off a whole list of them. And Shammi Kapoor, I got an appointment with him when I had to act in a movie where I had to do 6 Shammi Kapoor songs,
Wow.
snatches of them. It's a film called Sitam. And I've never been so scared in my life. Because, and I think the reason I like both Shammi Kapoor and Dara Singh, Shammi Kapoor, I think, was a great actor who never did a great film. And that's why he won't be remembered as a great actor. Actors are remembered through the work they do. You may be the most talented guy in the world, but unless you've done a movie which will be remembered, you will be forgotten. Teesri Manzil perhaps comes closest to being, it's not a great film, but it's great filmmaking. The reason I loved them both is because when I saw them on screen, I felt I couldn't do this.
Right.
And I think that's what makes you admire acting. When you see acting which you feel, I couldn't have done this.
Yeah. So, one very interesting thing that you mentioned is your struggle in terms of getting accepted as an actor. The idea of being an actor, the first stage of rejection comes from the family and then people around you. Maybe that's changed a little bit now, but do you feel that it's changed for the better now?
Well, it has changed in the sense acting has no longer got a taboo attached to it.
Right.
The stigma has gone.
Yes.
Because people have realized that it's a perfectly valid career choice, and it can be a respectable profession too.
True.
My dad would have been very proud of what I've achieved. Very proud that I have gone to Rashtrapati Bhavan and shook hands with the president and so on. For him, acting was a thing done by wastrels. I don't know if that attitude has changed, because I still get a lot of parents who come to me and say, "Mera beta padhta nahi hai, usko actor bana do." So any youngster who comes to me and says he wants to act, I tell them, you got to complete your education first,
right.
Because too long have uneducated actors ruled the roost in the acting world. We need educated people. We need people who are aware of their craft and of their responsibility to the craft.
We've spoken so much about cinema. What would you say about theatre in India?
Theatre in India, it encountered a very unfortunate happening. Theatre in Hindustani, let's say, when movies turned into talkies. They tried to be thoroughly European. The leading man was always in a felt hat and a Macintosh, pencil moustache, as much like Ronald Coleman as they could get. Even in the early talkies. Again, the same thing happened. The talkies, again, it was either westernized look or mythological or Arabian Nights.
Right.
That was it. And Arabian Nights and mythological because cinema could create that magic which was required for these things. Then when the movies became talkies, the Europeans and the Parsis and the Maharashtrians were sidelined because those movies were in Urdu.
Mm-hmm.
Or they were in chaste Hindi, and they required actors who had good voices and who had good speech,
right.
Which is not the case. So where did the cinema look but in the theatre? And they sucked all the talent out of the theatre. And it wasn't only the actors. It was the writers, the poets, the musicians, the choreographers, the set designers, the dancers, everybody from the Urdu theatre got sucked into the movies. And that's why those early movies are what they are. They look like filmed versions of plays.
Right.
A lot of them were in fact filmed versions of plays. All these plays were without much depth. If you judge them from today's standard of writing, white was white and black was black. Good always triumphed in the end.
Right.
And all the right values were talked about, There was never a thief who was the central character, for example. And, most important, the action of the play stopped every now and then for a song. For no reason at all.
Okay.
Just because they had a beautiful singer, so they would say, okay, now hold on, and they go. And she would sing a song and sometimes the audience would say, once more. And so the singer would sing it once more. So the action of the play stopped completely.
Right.
And then the song ended and then you resumed the action.
Right.
Right? Sounds familiar? And at times, the audience would say, once again to a death scene, for example. So the actor, after dying, would get up and do the death scene all over again. That is where Hindi cinema found its form. And it's a tragedy that it hasn't outlived that form, outgrown that form. Till today, we are making movies which conform to either the old Parsi theatre, the old Urdu theatre, or to Shakespeare. Every cliche of Hindi cinema is from Shakespeare. Whether it's a man dressing as a woman or a woman dressing as a man, or twin brothers who are mistaking identity, or rich boy and poor girl, or warring families, or an eccentric old grandfather who wants to give his property to his servant, or name it. I don't know what Hindi cinema would be without Shakespeare. So, but then that's the tragedy. We haven't outgrown it, and we still feel the necessity for songs for no reason. Instead of using the form of songs, which can be such a useful medium for communicating an idea, the way someone in the theatre did, the way Brecht, for example, used songs to convey an idea, or where the song is part of the narrative. Indian theatre and Indian cinema both suffer from the same malady, which is the lack of writers.
It's too derivative still.
They are derivative, to use a kind word. They are derivative. Shakespeare has been, Sholay was derived from Sergio Leone, not copied. It was a tribute to Sergio Leone. Either we have writers who are trying to ape Samuel Beckett and Eugene Ionesco, or we have writers who are trying to write esoteric stuff which nobody understands, or we are adapting Western plays.
Right.
The encouraging thing, however, is that there are several young people, particularly in this city, and in Bangalore, and I believe in Calcutta and Chennai, who are writing original plays in the living language, which is not a pure language of English or Hindi or Urdu or Marathi or anything, but a khichdi of languages, which is the language spoken in the cities.
Right.
And they're writing about issues which concern them. They're not writing about esoteric subjects and trying to prove how socially aware they are.
Right.
They're writing about things which matter to them. So there is hope.
There is hope. So as an actor who is very active in both theatre and cinema, you prefer yourself in the movies or you prefer yourself in theatre?
I enjoy the work of acting. I love movies as much as I love the theatre. I can't say I'm basically a theatre person because I began working in both professionally at the same time.
Yes.
I did my first movie and I did my first professional play same year. And I have to admit that when I dreamt of being an actor, I dreamt of being a film star, you know, like everybody else does. So I can't really say I'm basically a theatre person, but I have to admit that now I enjoy working in the theatre more than I enjoy working in movies. I'm also pretty dissatisfied with the quality of the movies we make by and large.
Right.
I am getting interesting offers, but they are few and far between, which is fine with me because I can then dedicate that time to theatre. And the occasional movie is fine with me. One a year. When my bank balance begins to run low, I sign a Bollywood monstrous movie and I make sure I'm safe for the next few years.
Yes, so you did do Welcome Back, which you're never going to be. You keep reminding you of it.
Welcome Back. I actually haven't seen Welcome Back, so I can't say how good it is.
But you have a play coming up, The Father.
That's right.
Tell me something about that because that sounds very interesting.
I see, you know, we in India, unfortunately, cannot have a run of a play. And I'm often asked this question at seminars and meetings and talks, say, why don't we have an equivalent of Broadway in India? And my answer is that we already have Hindi cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
we don't need
like
Broadway. We don't need Broadway.
Effects.
And the stuff that's done on Broadway or West End in England is hardly theatre. You know, it is part magic show, part rock concert, part conjuring tricks, part music, concert, part ballet. It's not theatre. It's a kind of theatre which creates an illusion where when you're watching it, you don't know if you're watching a movie or a play. To me, the central object of theatre, the central element of theatre is the words.
Right.
And the words must be center stage. I don't say that I don't enjoy watching these plays. I do now and then. But if you've seen one, you've seen them all. Unless it has substance, you know. And many of them don't. Mm-hmm. Many of them cater to the tourists who come to New York and to London. I prefer the kind of theatre which depends on the text and which doesn't depend so heavily on machinery and magic.
Right.
In India, we are not equipped to do that kind of theatre as they do on Broadway. And I'm glad they don't. And I'm glad that experiments like Mughal-e-Azam are few and far between. And I'm sure it won't catch on anyway. Mm-hmm. It's a one-off.
Right.
But the audience loves it and they're flocking to it because it makes them feel they're watching a Broadway thing. I don't do that kind of theatre. I don't like to see that kind of theatre. And I don't think that is what true theatre is all about. To me, the most important elements in a theatre are the actors and the text. If you could eliminate every other element, how would that be? Is what I believe about theatre. Just depend on your text and depend on your actor's ability to communicate that text. Because the magic of theatre to me is how much you can stimulate the audience's mind.
Right.
Not how many illusions you can create. So that's the kind of theatre I believe in, and The Father, which we are doing from the 1st of September till the 30th of September,
Right.
every night at the NCPA Experimental, is an attempt at that. I've done my share of realistic plays, and I will never do a realistic play again, because I don't believe that you can ever, no matter how convincing your set is, the audience never believes that they are actually in a dining room with the actors,
Right.
or they are actually in a bedroom with this husband and wife, or they are actually in a kitchen, no matter how many stoves you may have, a light and water boiling on top of it and everything. The audience never believes that this is real, because all they have to do is look from there to there and they can see the light, and they can see the curtains flapping. So why try to make the audience believe?
Right.
In fact, what I believe in is underline the fact that we are doing a play.
Right.
Welcome, sit down, please be comfortable. We're doing a play. Now, we're starting the play. Okay, fine, we're all ready, let's start the play. And we start the play. And the actors are in front of them. From being actors, they turn into the character, in full view of the audience.
Right.
And it makes no difference to the audience. Actors hiding away and then appearing as the character and all that. We dispense completely with props in this play. We're not using a single prop. We are using all imaginary props.
Right.
Everything is imaginary. Because the play is about a character who's in the last stages of dementia, and so the hallucinations and things that occur to him
Right.
is part of the play. And the audience too, after a point, some people said, began to hallucinate. They said we began to see things which weren't there because we have sounds.
Right.
There's a bottle of whiskey which I pick up, uncork, and pour into an imaginary glass.
Right.
And there's the sound of the whiskey being
The
poured
whiskey being poured.
and the glass being put down. But there's no object. So it was great fun. Also because it is such an emotionally draining play for everybody, not just for me,
Right.
that I thought it's very important for the actors to be reminded that they're doing a play.
Since we're talking about the play and the subject is an elderly parent, and the whole notion of fatherhood, which has been there in a couple of your other works as well, in movies like Masoom and Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara.
Monsoon
That was
Wedding,
a smaller part, of course. But I mean, is it a subject that interests you in the way, because we are used to watching the ideal fathers and all of that, and obviously this is not the case in a lot of your movies.
To tell you the truth, I don't feel any different from what I felt when I was 20. I don't feel 69, not for a second. But I can understand what it's like. My dad died when he was 70. And I said, hell, I mean, he hardly ever lived. There's a lot in my life I look forward to still. There's a lot I still want to do. But the thought of mortality keeps occurring.
Right.
And the thought that this ailment could hit me anytime. I mean, it has hit really, people who one felt were really reached minds. They suffered from ailments like this where they lost their memory and so on. So I'm trying to guard against it. I'm trying to learn new things, even at this age. I've been trying to learn how to read and write Urdu, which is something I learned as a kid, but I'm trying to revive my knowledge of that. I'm beginning to read poetry, which I never did before. And more new things. I want to learn carpentry.
Right.
Yeah, I want to learn pottery. There's several things I want to do, but I also, the reminder, the body doesn't keep up with your brain any longer, and that's a reminder. And so I must equip myself. That's why if I'd discovered a play like The Father 10 years ago, I wouldn't have touched it, I think.
Right.
I don't think I would have been able to understand what this, and to empathize with this person. Today I can, because my body reminds me every now and then. You do sort of, I go out of my home and I go down to my car and I forget where I was going.
Since we're talking about fatherhood, it's sort of a tenuous connection, but I wanted to ask you that as an eminent member of the film industry and as an actor who has a family who's like really active in the industry and working, and where do you stand on the nepotism debate?
Why is the film industry accused of nepotism only?
Yeah, that is a valid
Every
question.
profession, in every profession, the father wants the son to follow in his footsteps. See, the trouble is the film industry is the envy of too many people.
Right.
And that is why they go, he's so-and-so's son, so he got it. Okay, what about the industrialists? What about the politicians?
They hand it over to their children.
Everybody hands it over to their children. Theatre actors hand it over to their children. A musician hands it over to that. A musician is proud, a sitarist would be really proud if his son is also a sitarist. So what the hell's wrong with that? It's not nepotism. And what else do you, if a child is, what a child is exposed to from the moment that child is born is what determines his or her tastes.
That's true.
The film industry gets accused of too many things which happen everywhere else. It's just that people are much more curious about the film industry than about other people. Who's interested in a politician's son? Or a actor's son? Yeah.
But one of the things that which you do, which is not so common in the film industry, is like in your book you've mentioned that you experimented with drugs and sex, which is again not only in the industry, all over India. I think it's a taboo topic. It's like swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
Did you get any flag for it?
No. People appreciated it.
Cool
I don't think anybody in the film industry reads books in the first place. So I don't think anybody read my book in the film industry except Amir, who I believe has read it. Because we chatted about it. But I don't think anyone else in the film industry has bothered to read it. I think Salim Javed have read it, or they were told about what I wrote about Sholay, so they are pretty upset with me. Not that it matters. But everybody else who I've met is very appreciative of the fact, that I can talk about it and feel no embarrassment. Why should I feel any embarrassment? I didn't feel any embarrassment while doing it. So I can talk about it. What is there to be ashamed about? And I admitted myself that I'm hardly an example worth emulating. But I've quoted Neville Cardus and said that nobody compelled you to read this book.
So 40 years in the profession of acting and many more years to go. What can we expect next from you in this phase of your career?
I hope I'm able and have the stamina to try making another film. I am toying with the idea of making a short film, just to gain some confidence again, because my confidence was badly shaken when I made that film. Not because it flopped. I didn't expect it to run, but because it was an incompetent job. I know more about filmmaking now, and I want to attempt a short film. So I hope before I die, I'll be able to make a decent feature film. It takes a lot of energy though.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to playing any great roles unless they fall into my lap. I've played quite a few, and I'm interested in being part of projects which I feel will be remembered, no matter in what capacity.
Sure.
Yeah, and that is all. And what I'm enjoying most is working with young actors, helping them. That is something I really relish, and it's wonderful to get a youngster to perform to his potential,
Yeah.
to help him find himself and perform to the best he's capable of.
Well, thank you, sir. I hope we get to see many more fine actors who are as fine as you.